I will. So, well, I don't know how to thank everybody here, other than I really appreciate it. I'm very humbled by the honor. I do feel like I died for some reason, but when I see this, but I understand.
Celebration of life.
It's great.
Yeah.
But it's just really cool, you know, to have friends that would want to do this. You know.
You're part of Austin music history, and we appreciate that part. It means a lot to us, all of us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I was thinking as we were coming up, and I was seeing I saw Heather, look at all these buildings. They weren't even here a few years ago, and even since she moved here, it's like, and I came here like around 76 because Doug Somm was here, and he kept saying, hey man, you gotta come to Austin, lots of chicks, lots of
Yeah.
music.
Non-mentionable.
A cool scene, which they don't have, so you're too bad.
You guys know what he said, anyway. So I said, yes, I'm on my way. I want to get down there. But my mom was in San Antonio. But I kept reading about Austin, and I read an article saying Austin was going to be the new Nashville, which really never, I don't think happened. And then this is before they came up with the live music capital of the world.
Yeah.
But I came down here, and the first gig I played was with T.P. Tom. You guys remember T.P. Tom?
Yeah.
He paid me $3. We played at Spellman's on 5th Street. Remember that place?
Yeah, over Spillman's.
Spellman's. He said, we played for the door. This is your cut, $3. I'm like, what? $3? I'm going back to Chicago where it came from. You know? I was working there. You know, I had a gig in the 95th floor of the Hancock Building in Chicago.
Nice.
You know, I was playing in Playboy Club, and I had all the cool gigs in Chicago. Tons of bar mitzvahs, a lot of Jewish bar mitzvahs. A lot of those.
Chicken nutter.
But, so, I was telling Heather that, right? About all the opportunities that I had in Chicago the 5 years I was there. And the biggest one was meeting Roy Knapp, the drum teacher, who was a phenomenal drum teacher that, he had taught Krupa, and he taught Hal Blaine, he taught Louis Bellson, and so because of certain circumstances of me getting fired from a gig because I couldn't read the music, I started walking down the street of Forest Park, which is a Chicago suburb, and I was kind of like struggling. I live in a little bitty room, renting a room from this lady, and I was running out of money for one, and so I got down. I found a church. I was one thing. I saw a church and I started praying. I got down to pray in this church. I said, "Oh God, I need to find a gig. I need work, and I need a teacher, and I need this and that." And about maybe a couple of weeks after that, this guy calls me, Eddie Picard from Cedar Rapids. Hey man, I heard you're a drummer in town, and well, before that, actually, I got a gig playing with a Creedence Clearwater cover band. And they did nothing but Creedence Clearwater playing like Holiday Inn gig in one of the suburbs, and then of course the union wouldn't let you have a sit-down gig. You had to like move around all the time. You could move around, and they would to have a sit-down gig. The union busted you, and they actually did. Later, we had to go before the board of directors, and we were trying to waive that and say, well, and the funny thing, because it was Roy Knapp, who was on the board, who ended up being my teacher later. He said, what do you mean you can't find a drummer? I'll find you a drummer. He said, no, but we like Ernie. We want him to play with us. He just came up from Texas. Well, then they had this, closed the door, and they had this little meeting, right? And then the verdict, right? We're standing outside the door. I can hear them arguing in there. Half were on my side, the other half were me. And they were like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like a verdict. You're waiting to hear the verdict, And then finally they're done, and he comes out because, you're going to have to wait out your 90-day waiting period before you can play any gigs anymore. All right. So started just freelancing for some. But then this guy finally called and said, "Hey, I heard your friend Sid, and I got this gig." And I said, "Really?" Well, he said, "You have a tuxedo?" I said, "No, I have no tuxedo." He said, "I know we can get one for $10. A white shirt and a bow tie and a tuxedo. So I said, "Well, where's this gig at?" He said, "It's a Playboy Club." Playboy Club. And you're not supposed to mess with bunnies. Don't mess with bunnies. At the time, I was married. And I had my own bunny. And from Chicago. And we did that gig for, I don't know how many weeks. And they said, "Hey, you know, they want us to go up play Lake Geneva, Playboy Resort, Wisconsin." So yeah, so we went up. And there, the bunnies were sitting there smoking these spleefs because it was a guardhouse and the cops couldn't come in there. It was safe. You were inside the resort. And the bunnies were just smoking away. It was crazy stuff. Finished that gig, came back in Chicago, and got a gig in a corner of Rush and Oak Street. You know where that is? In the basement of this high-rise. And that's kind of where I met Roy Knapp's son first. He came up and said, "Hey, I like the way you play, and you know, I want to buy you a drink." I thought it was a union guy because he had a little treble clef thing on his tie. And so when he told me his name was Don Knapp, I said, "Are you related to Roy Knapp?" He said, "That's my dad." Does he still teach? He lives right upstairs. So I kind of figured like that was like an answer to my prayer, to be honest with you. Like I had prayed about that, and all of a sudden, the whole city of Chicago, I'm in the playing in a basement of this phenomenal teacher guy. You know? So it wasn't easy living on the third floor apartment in Chicago, and you know, coming to the gigs at night and no place to park, and life was rough, man, and it was brutally cold and slipping in the ice and shit in my tux. And then Doug's calling and, "Hey man, you gotta come to Austin, man. Lots of chicks, lots of what?" Well, yeah, okay. So I came down, and so that was my end of that life, and then it all started again here. And somebody posted the picture of Soap Creek Saloon the other day. I was watching it. You saw it on Facebook, and I went, "Wow, yeah, that's where I actually met." Well, no, I knew Doug, but I mean that's where I played him. Started afterwards, and later on I met Delbert McClinton there, and that's where I actually joined the band with him there. And then we went on tour, and so then these opportunities started to build a little bit. But for a period there, it was rough because I actually had to stand in the food stamp line in Round Rock because I had two little boys. And when they paid me $3 for a gig, I told my mom, "I'm going back to Chicago. I can't stay here." And I worked all the time there. "No, just stick it out, you know. Well, I'll try." And then, you know, and it was actually Delbert that pretty much saved me, because when he hired me, you know, back then, he said, "I'll put you on a salary, pay you $500 a week." You know, so I got a nanny to stay with the boys, and there we go. Cocaine, wild days. Crazy time. But, so, you know, and the rest you know pretty much. I just kind of stuck it out. And now I've just been doing Durawa Tuesdays 7 years. We're starting at year number 8 next week. It's amazing.
That's fantastic.
You skipped over the tornadoes?
I did, yeah. Actually, when I came back in '81, I left Delbert's band, and we'd done everything: Saturday Night Live, Solid Gold, you know, you name it. Dennis Miller.
So you did Sandy Beaches, and that's it. That was hitting.
Huh?
Sandy Beaches, that was hitting, and Standing on Shady.
Yeah, I did.
All that
Yeah, I did. Giving It Up for Your Love. Yeah, we did on both Saturday Night Live and Solid Gold. Yeah, we went from New York to California and celebrated Dionne Warwick's birthday party and stuff.
What year
That was 1981. So about, I left the band, and I put an ad. There was no Chronicle here, so I put an ad in a green sheet for drum lessons. And this really hot-looking chick answered my ad. She was this beautiful girl. She, oh my God, And she said, she saw this little pocket Bible I had bought. It was sitting on my desk. And she said, "Where do you go to church at?" I said, "Nowhere, because I just got home from being on tour, being on the road." So she goes, "Will you go to church with me?" Sure.
Amen.
Found out later she worked at a gym, and she was like a gym instructor, and she had all these muscles, And so she took me to this church on Jollyville Road. And later on, they found out I was the drummer. She said, "Hey, you want to play with the church band?" Sure. I play with the church band, and that's all they knew. They didn't know much about my history. And so I looked out and I saw this cute little blonde. This is all actually my daughter. And I looked at this cute little blonde, and there was going to be a party at Willie Nelson's. I was invited to it. I said, "I'm going to ask that little blonde. Maybe she wants to go pick up." And I walked up to her and said, "Hey, I'm Ernie. There's going to be a party at Willie Nelson's, and would you like to go?" I had a friend of mine that had a limo service. "I'll send a limo out to get you." "I'm not riding in any limo." Sorry. That turned out to be Ginger. Later, and because I had to pursue her. She didn't like me after that. She didn't like me much at the beginning. But right before she died, 17 years ago, she actually said, "Ernie, I'm really glad you didn't give up on me. And you pursued me." I said, "Yeah." But that's how it worked, So she went, And about 84, Doug said, "Hey, you want to go to Europe, man?" And I had never been to Europe. "Hell, I want to go to Europe. Never been there." So off we go as the Sir Douglas Quintet. And we landed in Amsterdam, of all places. And at the airport, and I go, "Hey, Doug, that guy's smoking a joint out there, man, in the sidewalk." He said, "I never seen that, on the street." Doug goes, "Yeah, man, they're allowed to do that here. Don't worry about it. It's good." And then everybody was totally blissed. Oh my God, Amsterdam, So walking in a coffee shop, I'm sitting at the counter, and this guy is. Well, first we did the gig. It's called the Paradiso. I'm standing next to this guy, he's got a joint, but that long, and he's smoking, and I'm just standing next to him, breathing secondhand smoke. I was so high at the time. There was an opening band, and I had to go play. Shit, man, I'm really stoned. And I realized, when I'm sitting in that coffee shop, and those little things where they put the sweet and low, those little things, This guy's got one of those, but it's got cigarette papers in it, no sweet. And he goes, shoves it down the bar, so that you can sit there and roll your joint, and then look on there's a blackboard, and it's got all these different kind of weed, different kinds. To me, I had never seen that either. And he goes, "Hey, you want to go down to the red light district?" "Sure, what's that?" He said, "Oh man, you'll love it." Wow, there's the women in the windows going. Amazing place. So we stuck that out. We did that whole tour, and then we went back in '85, and we had that accident in Norway. That one day, we had two vans, and we had an equipment van and a passenger van, and we took turns. The equipment van had a bunk bed and two roadies, and each one of us could take turns riding. If we wanted to stretch out, you could stretch out in the other van. And we were going down, and they hit a bump. I was in the van that day, and it collapsed. The bunk bed collapsed, and these screws were sticking out, and they cut my back. Well, all right, it was nothing, just a big old deep scratch. And then we did the show, and then that next morning, everybody's going, all right, who's going to ride with those guys, you know? Augie goes, oh, well, I'll go. Or Rocky Morales, remember Rocky?
Yeah.
I'll go. You know, Rocky was half drunk. Went, oh shit, you know. And I had already been the day before, and then finally Larry Campbell, amazing Larry. You know Larry Campbell? You guys don't know Larry Campbell? He's a phenomenal musician, guitarist from New York. He was Bob Dylan's musical director, and he was Levon Helm's musical director, and he still lives up in New York. And so he was our steel player, fiddle player, guitar player, played each an immaculate player, you know. And so he says, I'll ride with them. And so they would always leave an hour before the passenger van left. We're cruising down the highway, and we see all these flashing lights, police lights, and then we're talking, we're telling jokes and stuff, and then we stop, and I look over and I see the van. I recognize the equipment van. I'm going, oh my God, that's the guys, you know. And the windshield had popped out, and Larry, the driver had his leg was crushed, and he kind of yanked him out, and he swam out through the window. Also, but he ended up saving those guys' lives. So when we pulled up, we asked, "Where are the guys? They're gone." He said, "Yeah, they're all kind of cut up, but they're all survived." And there's a picture. You can see the van is completely under the water. All the instruments are destroyed, and people are going, "Well, is there going to be a show tonight?" On what? No. And there were 6 gigs left for that tour.
Wow.
So it was really weird because you don't think you could find a steel guitar in Norway, but 3 of them came out. But before that, there was another incident where we got to this gig before the accident, and Doug's bajo sexto was in the back, and somehow the door had flipped open and the bajo fell out. So when we got to the concert area, the bajo's missing. Oh my God, you know. So Doug, you know, he's like like that, and so they reported it. There's a farmer on his tractor one day, going down. He sees this. What the hell is this? He picks it, he hears it on the news about a lost instrument from some American band. And we're over at the concert. All of a sudden, here's a helicopter with Doug's bajo. Yeah, and he opens it up perfectly in tune. You know, and it was a weird story. That was before the accident. Then later on, like maybe 2-3 weeks later or whatever, because we were over there for a month and a half, 6 weeks, which is a long time to be on a tour. And
that's like your first album, right? The first Texas Tornadoes record.
that was still Sir Douglas Quintet days.
Oh, okay.
The Tornadoes hadn't happened yet, because that was 84, 85. The Tornadoes were put in 89. And so we had, well, after all that, you know, we survived that. Everybody came home and stuff. And I remember after being over there for 6 weeks, and I think we landed in either Atlanta or New York, we saw a Burger King. We thought it was the best, greatest thing in the world. American hamburger.
America.
Yeah, you know, because we've been eating, you know, they eat kind of bland.
Shrimp on toast.
Yeah, shrimp on.
You told us that.
You know that story?
You said shrimp on toast. If I see that again, I'm going to throw up.
No, shrimp on toast. Shut up. Man, I'm sick of this shrimp on toast. I remember those, yeah. Augie would tell you that story. Yeah, so, yeah, and then, you know, I get this, well, I had this guy living with me, Rich Minus, who's a songwriter, and he wrote that song called Laredo Rose. Familiar with that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Ginger, he said, I like that song. You guys, you gotta talk to Doug about it. Let him hear it. And he would always pull in my driveway, and he'd have some kind of Mexican stuff on there. He said, "Hey Ernie, what do you think of this, man? What's he saying?" And so he called. So Ginger tells him about the song and stuff. He listens to it. Then maybe about a month later, he calls me from San Marcos. He goes, "Hey man, you need to come over here to Fire Station Studios. I want you to play me that Donkey Yonka beat." Donkey Yonka beat? What do you mean, Donkey Yonka beat? Oh, Donkey Yonka. You mean the bolero beat? That's a bolero beat. Well, yeah, I call it Donkey Yonka beat. Okay. So I went to San Marcos, and we recorded Laredo Rose, which ended up being one of the biggest songs on that first album. And then we did Soy de San Luis, which that one won a Grammy. That track. But and it went from there. In '89, '90, I was looking at a video of us playing in Japan. I posted it actually on my Facebook. And the cool thing about that video is you see Mount Fuji in the background by Freddie Fender singing. Have you seen it? It's really cool. Really cool, good shot. And then Freddie Fender is introducing everybody in the band, but he forgets to introduce Speedy. That used to happen to me all the time. You introduce him, they forget about the drummer. But in this case, it was Speedy that got left out. Anyway, enough of that. I just want to thank everybody for your support, your friendship, your music, and your cooking. Everybody. And it's kind of neat. Flattered by it.
Hey, it's drying up nicely.
Yeah. So someday when I am actually gone, hopefully it'll still be here.
Now you have to come down here and exercise so you can visit your...
Well,
Do some pull-ups.
none of those appeal to me. Maybe that could pull on those. But I do like to exercise a lot, go walking a lot and stuff.
Well, more than the brick, your music will live on, for sure.
Well,
Yeah, man.
It's part of Austin history and what Austin is.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Not a statue like Stevie Ray, but
We'll work on that.
That's next year.
work on it.
One step at a time.
That's for 90.
That's
For 90.
Yeah. No. Actually, I knew Stevie, and you knew Stevie. We knew Stevie when he would come to South Creek Saloon when we were playing there, because he also was a big Doug song fan. And there were times that I actually jammed with him when he came. He would sit in, and he loved Doug. And so that goes way back. We go way back. And Chris too. Chris Layton. I mean, he goes, "Hey man, come over to my house. I want to work on that shuffle with you. He showed me that Texas double shuffle." So I went to his house when he lived on Mary Street. He had 2 drum sets in there. And this is before they even did anything. They were just starting out. And every time I see him, there's always this big admiration for each other. He's great. Love him. I guess I'll shut up now. I don't know what else to say.
This is awesome.
Mark.
Appreciate it, Ernie.
Thanks for hey man, you got the sticks.
Hey,
Yes.
Who got the drum leg?
Actually, yeah.
From PJ?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being you and all the great things you do.
Yeah, music alive here in Austin. It's great.
Well, I'm not ready to quit yet.
I think Joe King Carrasco would like to fly and play with you enough too.
I talked to Joe the other day, and I have a date. Hopefully, I'm waiting back to be probably the 30th of April. To be honest with you, man, in this new year, January, February, March, April is already booked with guests. So, you know, May is opening up. So maybe you guys can come in May. And I tried to start with just new people that had never been there. Well, everybody knows Soul Man Sam. He's going to start it out.
It's first time.
And Lara, do you know Lara Price? Anybody know her?
Yeah.
She's a pretty hot singer too.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
It'll be a good show.
She'll be a first one next week. And I don't know her. I've never even met her, but I was looking at her information. It's pretty interesting stuff. She survived Vietnam or something.
Yeah, she did.
And
Aaron looked it up.
yeah, wow.
I think I got a video of her on YouTube from Anton's. I don't know when you're doing a benefit.
Yeah, and then I don't know. There's people they approach me about it. People come up and say, hey, I want to be a guest. And I'm always looking for new people that you know never been there.
It's always enjoyable.
There's a lot of repeats. You know.
I bet the seating at El Mercado is so uncomfortable. The chairs at El Mercado are really flimsy.
Yes, they are. I know that. Yeah, and if you're a big, heavy-set guy, you have trouble. You got
Always
You don't
afraid
have to
of
be
them.
heavy.
But before I'm done here, number one, I want to just really say hi to Anna and Jimmy for organizing this whole thing. You know,
Yeah.
because
We love you. We love you, Ernie.
Anna was, you know, don't cry. Are you crying?
Yes.
Why are you crying? No, Anna just, you know, I mean, this was her whole idea, I suppose. And then she managed to make everybody follow up on that. And I really thank you a lot from the bottom of my corazón. You know?
Ernie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that's extended to everyone else here. For following
Everyone
up
else.
and believing and doing, you know, following up everything. I'm really helpful and glad and honored. And I don't know what else to say.
Thank you for the groove, Ernie. You have really.
Yeah, thank you for the
Yeah.
making it Groover's Paradise.
Groover's Paradise.
I miss I miss my old buddies, and I honestly don't think I think the Tornadoes. You know, we have one record in the can. It still hasn't been released, but I'm not sure what they're going to be doing. I can't tell us guys what to do. You know, I know they're moving a little slower than I am. They're like, you know, I move a lot faster.
They're
That's
not
why
getting
I
a
still
daily
walk-
drum workout.
Huh?
Yeah,
They're not
right.
getting a daily drum workout.
Yeah, that's it. You know, and I walk about 2 miles every day. You know, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But so hopefully, you know. But to be honest with you, when Doug and Freddie died, that was pretty much the end of everything. That was the beginning of the end, you know. And I know Sean's playing over here this afternoon at Sagebrush for Jim Franklin's birthday,
Right.
80th birthday. And I posed for Jim Franklin. He was going to paint a portrait. I gave him $100. That's about 10 years ago. And I never went back for my second post, and then he moved, and that was the end of that. I don't know if you remember. But Larry Clem told me he was going to ask him about that. Ernie says he still wants to come in for his second post. I said, he won't even remember me, man. It's been too long.
Oh, he would.
It'll be your face on an armadillo.
He probably knows. He knows you don't know.
80 years old, man.
That's old.
No shit. I got him by a year.
It's young. I was just.
It's the new 60.
That's what I hear.
Well, Ernie
Right.
shared the poster board for that.
80s the new 60s.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
Take
Why
it.
not?
I'll take it.
Anything you want to say, Anna? This last minute?
Thank you all so much for contributing to making this possible. I really appreciate every single one of you. I love that we were able to keep it a secret too. That was a hard one.
Hey, Ernie, your brick.
Take another picture. Oh, you're in the shadow.
Oh.
Jimmy, you can
Yeah.
stay behind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it looks
was
kind of weird in all the
sweet of
spots.
that one lady to finally get the idea that we wanted her shadow off of that thing, and she finally moved.
Kind of weird in all.
Shot that.
Yeah, it's a.